So, I started a company called Unknown Worlds back in, 2004. So I'm older than everyone here, I think. No, okay. No, Ivan. Okay. We made a game called Natural Selection 2 for Steam. And that was after Natural Selection 1. And this game took 8 years to make. And we did very well with it, but we ended up by spending all of our money from that game to develop our new game called Subnautica. Subnautica is for Unity, and it's an open world underwater survival game. And we spent $3 million to make Svilupparty, and I think I'm just going to show you a quick video of that, because they told me you like videos. Okay, just in case you don't know it, Svilupparty is on early access right now. It's been on Steam, and it's really cool, I promise. Here we go. Okay. Allora, so the reason I am here today is because we've taken many risks to make our games. We've spent all of our money twice to make our games, and we've spent a very long time making our games, and that is no longer an acceptable way to make games. And I don't want you guys to make games the same way. You must be better. So, we are now at a point where technology is free because of Unity and Unreal, which is something that Ivan and I we would never believe that 20 years ago, that technology could be free. And programming is hard, of course, but we have engines available for everyone. And more importantly, we have Steam. And with Steam, you have a huge audience, and that audience loves playing small, niche, indie games. And those games can become huge games, as we've seen many, many times. So now we have, I'm going to skip ahead here. Well, this is the problem, of course. We have way, way, way too many games. And you all know this, because it's getting harder and harder to make money making games. So it's getting easier to make a game, and it's getting harder to sustain a business making a game. So the strategy that we've had at Unknown Worlds has worked up until this point, and I know that it no longer works. And I want to make sure that people here today know they must do better than the way games have been built in the past. And I'm going to try to explain the way that I like to think about making games, and I hope it will help. So you can see that games, I mean, this is an estimate. 2017 is bullshit, it's a guess. But it looks pretty scary, right? 2016 is pretty close. That's 50% more games every year. And in 3 or 4 years, Steam will look like the App Store. So that's pretty scary. Okay, but this is fun. We're having fun. We're game developers. Let's have fun. So now you can make anything you want with any technology you want. It's all free. And so what do you make? We've changed, the whole idea of game development has changed. It's changed from it used to be that only some people could make games, and only some people could distribute games or get publishing contracts. But now anyone can make a game and anyone can release a game. So the real question is, how do we choose what to make? So I'm visiting Bologna for 2 months to visit my friends at Studio Evil. And on the way here, I was really lucky to get invited to a board game design conference. Not a conference, a retreat. It was in rural France, and we played board games and designed board games and played other people's designs for 4 days straight. So this is only one table of games, and this is the smallest table. I didn't get a picture of the other ones, but board games are very similar to video games right now. There's no technology required for board games, and the audience is impossibly small for each board game. However, this is just one example. There was one game there called Potion Explosion, made by an Italian developer, actually, Horrible Games. Now this game it's really no better than any of these other games on this shelf. These are basically all fantastic games. But this game, brand new, has sold 30,000 copies in 3 months, which for a board game is huge. It doesn't happen very often. And I think the reason why this game has sold very well is because of that weird contraption, that machine in the middle, which is inspired from Match 3 games, by the way, like Bejeweled and those things. So that contraption is full of marbles, and you're picking marbles out, and they collapse, and they touch, and when they match, you take more marbles, and then they roll, and you take more, and you make big combos. It's very cool, it's interesting. And the reason why this game is selling well, I believe, is not because it's a great game, it's because of that contraption. That strange idea that no board game has this. And it fits the theme perfectly because you're making potions. So it stands out on its own. We've never seen a board game like that. So my proposal today, what I want to talk about, is how you make games that stand out. On the left, you have a generic game, and most games that will be released on that chart I showed, most of them will be generic. And they have great programmers and great designers and great sound designers, and they work really, really hard to make those games. But with so many games, most of them will be generic. So I would like to ask you to make spiky games. Now, spiky games, I didn't make up this term. It's from Jamie Chang of Clay, who did Don't Starve and Mark of the Ninja. Great games. He's built a fantastic studio. And he had this idea at GDC this year about spiky games. He only had one slide, but so this whole presentation is about this one idea. And also Ryan Clark, the Crypt of the Necrodancer guy, he talks about this too. There's an amazing article I encourage all of you to read. The link will be at the end. And he wrote an article about hooks, and that's like spikes. Okay, anyways. So this is a spiky game among many, many generic games. And you can see why a spiky game might stand out. And when I say spikes, well, actually, I'll show you a good example. So many of you probably know Darkest Dungeon. If not, I'm going to show you one quick. I think I've mastered this. Have I? No, I haven't. I have. Okay, that's it. This video is about a minute long, so I apologize, but I think it's worth watching the whole thing. This is a caster called Ezekiel, who's playing Darkest Dungeon on, I think, Twitch. And I'll mention, if you don't know, in Darkest Dungeon, it has permadeath. So there's no save as you play, and you spend many hours to level up your adventurers. But as you play, if something bad happens, you lose your adventurers, and they're gone. And in fact, I asked the developer, Tyler, by the time you see the animation, before the animation hits, to show you your adventurer died, he's already dead and saved. It's too late. So you can't unplug your computer, you can't do anything. It's really mean. Okay, so here's Ezekiel with his very powerful party.
Come on, healer.
Volume? Can you get it louder, maybe?
Come on, healer. Baby, you gotta go.
Survival is a tenuous proposition.
That's okay. Come on, healer.
Sprawling tomb.
Come on! No, come on! Healer! Healer! Come on! Come on! Come on! Oh, that's fine as long as you give me one more fucking hint!
Find it in no short supply.
Don't do it!
So, we have a game that punishes people. It's the meanest game maybe we've ever seen. Maybe. I don't know. I can't think of a game that's more mean. And Darkest Dungeon has sold, so far, 800,000 copies. So it's a hit. Definitely a hit. So how could a game that angers people, and this is common, right? Ezekiel smashed his keyboard, but anyone here that's played Darkest Dungeon has probably felt stress. They've been nervous. They put the game away, then you come back to it, and then you rage on a forum, but this is common. So how could a game like this become so successful? So I think it's because it is very, very spiky. So first of all, the art style, it's indisputable. It's such a cool art style, and it stands apart from everything. This is not Minecraft. It's not an 8-bit generic indie game. The second thing is, now these are the spikes, right? These are the differentiators, the things that make this game not necessarily good, just different. Different and memorable. So the second thing is your adventurers go insane as you play. So they get phobias. So I don't know, is that fun? I'm not sure, but no other game does that. This is Lovecraft. Your guys go insane. It even has a warning message. I apologize, you can't read that. When the game starts, it tells you this game has permadeath, and you must be careful when you play, and it auto saves, and basically you're screwed. Is pretty much what it tells you. So it has permadeath, a huge differentiator. This is another one. The random number generator is truly random. So I've talked to Tyler a lot about this, the designer for Darkest Dungeon, and most games, I shouldn't say most games, many games, Blizzard especially has talked about this. They don't use randomness. Whenever they have a game that is truly random, their players complain and say, I had a huge winning. Well, they don't say they don't complain when they win, but I had a huge losing streak. Something's broken. So they make the game less random. So if you roll badly, if you're doing badly, you start to do better, and players actually think that feels more random. So Tyler went against that because he wanted to make sure that you can get screwed. There are times when you're playing perfectly and you lose everyone, and that is the spirit he wanted to capture in this game. And that is a huge differentiator. I don't know any other game that's doing that. Maybe games in the 80s and 90s, but then we moved away from that. And another huge hook, of course, is that narrator.
More dust, more ashes, more disappointment.
It's their signature sound. And that man narrated many, I think it was Call of Cthulhu, some Lovecraft books, a series of audiobooks, and they heard that voice, and they knew they had to include it in the game. Okay, so that was Darkest Dungeon, which I think is a very spiky game, and I think, of course, it's a wonderful game also. But now I want to talk about what we learned with Subnautica and how it was a little spiky in the beginning. Do you understand spiky? Yeah, okay, sorry, it's a strange word, even in English. Spiky, Subnautica was a little spiky, but over time, we focused on our spikes because we had to. We realized we could not succeed if we did not do that. Okay, so we released Subnautica on early access of December 2014, and we had spent all of our money from the previous game, Natural Selection 2. And we were out of money. In fact, we borrowed some, so we needed one more month. And we spent that money. We released the game on early access. And like many of us, we release a game on early access, and it doesn't do very well. And we don't know if we can continue working on the game. So we had, it's hard to see. Basically, we sold maybe 2,000 copies in the first couple weeks, which for a lot of games is great. For a $3 million game, that is not great. We didn't know if we could continue. And also, at this time, we were unfocused. We had a game called Subnautica, and we launched the game without a sub, no submarine. Which I'm glad we did that. It was the right choice, but it's strange. And we had many, many features that we had ideas for, but we didn't know, they weren't clear in our minds. So here we are with bad sales, wondering if we had to shut down the game and the company. And then we started noticing some streamers and what they liked about the game. So I'll show you this quick video. This is Eat My Diction, which is a funny pun in English. You can figure it out. Let's see.
What are you talking about, Nick? With monsters? What?
Oh, I'm
There's
playing
other people
Subnautica.
talking in the background.
And I'm in the ocean of like an alien world, and I'm trying to go as deep as I can right now before I switch games.
Oh, go deep.
I'm going deep.
Go deep.
Oh, it's scary.
Can you stop being a
Oh
broken
my
bitch?
god!
Look at his expression on his face.
I found Cthulhu! I found
Really?
Cthulhu!
And keep
I
looking.
found Cthulhu!
If Halo 5 isn't downloaded, I'm gonna be so mad. Okay, it looks like Halo 5 is downloaded.
Keep watching
Okay.
his face.
Okay, he's not depressed anymore, or broken.
We have the perfect amount, right? Because it's
Oh, I guess they
4v4.
don't move right
Yeah,
now.
yeah. Yes,
Wonderful.
It's just
Wonderful. Now, let me, I have to sign in again.
He's so
Sign me
happy.
out.
He's about to cry.
Okay, I have Halo 5. We are good.
Oh, radiation detected.
He's like a child. He is come un bambino. So, I was very happy to see that video because the experience of seeing that huge creature was what we wanted the game to be. We hadn't figured it out, really, but when we saw that, we knew that's what we wanted. So, one of our spikes was big creatures. We have big underwater creatures. I can't think of any games that have that. So we cut maybe 20 features from the game, and we started putting in big creatures. And this is the Reaper Leviathan, who is terrifying and way bigger than anything else in the game. Okay, so we started to look at Subnautica through the glasses or lens of spikes. So first of all, our biggest spike, we got lucky with this. We are an underwater science fiction game. And I can't think of any underwater science fiction games. So maybe we got lucky or we were intuitive with this initial choice, but that was a huge hook. Okay, we're not changing that. Now we learn to put in big creatures. Oops. Yeah, big creatures. We focused on those. Okay, and the third one, oops, taking some time here, is going. Okay, transitions. Okay, the third hook, which we also kind of got lucky with, maybe, was we wanted no weapons in the game. We wanted a non-violent game. And for a survival game on Steam, it's pretty strange to have no weapons. And we made this choice early in the game. I made the choice, and everyone else hated it. And I just said, we're doing it. And we must be more interesting.
You mean within the studio?
Yeah, within the studio.
Okay.
I mean, people like the concept, but then when you see people on forums say, can we have a spear gun? Just one. Just one. I'm trying to survive. Why can't I shoot this creature? And furthermore, for testing, we actually put in a gun. You could we wanted to test dying creatures because they can die. And so one of the developers put in shotgun mode, and you just shoot and creatures die, and it's actually really, really fun. I mean, it's super fun for like 10 minutes, and then you're done. So when the team saw this, of course, they wanted just one spear gun. So this turned out to be a massive hook for us because it forced us, or a hook or a spike, because it forced us to focus on features that other people were not doing. Another one, and this one we got very lucky with, is that it turns out that people are very, very scared of the underwater. And people told us we made a horror game without trying to, because they see some people are scared by open water at the surface. Some people are scared by nothing underwater, just blue. That makes them really scared. Some people get scared of chasms or holes opening below you. Other people are scared of darkness. I mean, it's just amazing how scared people are of this game. And there's almost nothing attacking you. It's just empty, a lot of it. And finally, we had a game that you could build and pilot a submarine. And of course, many games from many years ago have done that, but there's no modern game that I can think of that you can build and pilot a sub. So those were, I believe that by cutting all the other features that we had, I mean, not all of them, but many other features that were not these 5 core ideas, by cutting those other features, we turned everything around from almost bankrupt a year and a half ago to now we've sold 700,000 copies, and we have the highest sales we've ever had at about $1 million a month, which is absolutely incredible. Thank you. I don't want to brag, but we were this close to dying, this close. And I believe that this way of looking at games is a powerful one and necessary for the future. So you can see the red line at the bottom is what the initial numbers were when we launched, just for scale. We're 10 times or more. And finally, in my quest to convince you guys to think about spikes in your games, I wanted to mention the reason why I didn't want weapons in the game is because at the start of the development, we had a mass shooting in Newtown, Connecticut. We had 27 people get shot by a young man with a gun, an automatic weapon. And this was right when Svilupparty was starting. And as you probably know, we have huge gun violence problems in the US. And most Americans love guns. And, well, I don't know if it's most. Many love guns, many hate guns. And we refuse to change our legislation and our laws. And actually, I don't believe that guns cause violence. Video game violence, I don't believe, causes real life violence. And I'm assuming most people here agree. But I knew there was no way we could make another game with more guns. Just at least one game with no guns. So this was the reason that we chose the non-violence, and it turned out to be one of the best decisions we ever made. So what do you want to mention?
I just have a couple of questions. So you talked about spikes. So at the beginning, when you had the idea to create the game, without knowing the spikes, how was your way of thinking? So how did you make the game the wrong one?
You mean, why did we make it without spikes? How did we make it with spikes?
So you seated around a table and you said, okay, let's make a, I don't know,
yeah. I mean,
underwater game. And
made a prototype, which I can show you, but actually I don't have internet right now, but made a prototype with these core elements, with the core elements that you saw. That was in the prototype. And then we showed, well, two of us made the prototype, and then we showed the team, and we showed a few other people, and they started to understand and get excited.
And which were the biggest mistake you found in the prototype?
Oh, in the prototype? We had a submarine that you could build piece by piece, like Robocraft or Minecraft. The beginning was building your submarine. And for us, it was a mistake because you could build submarines that were very difficult to pilot. In fact, it was very difficult to build a submarine that piloted well. And we wanted our game to be about exploration, not at its core, it's about going deep and exploring the world. It's not about customizing or building a submarine. So it was the wrong choice for our game, but of course, yeah, probably great for other games.
So your suggestion for a developer is to start from this kind of chart?
Yeah, think about all the other games that your game will be compared to, and play all of those games. Play them a lot, and understand what makes them great, and then choose some really, really different and maybe risky features or ideas that set your game apart from them, so you won't be lost in that sea of generic games.
Maybe not everyone knows the Blue Ocean
yeah.
book, so maybe you can explain the concept behind this book, and maybe it's the same thing. You
Yeah,
applied
it's
it
very
here.
similar.
So maybe it could be interesting for that.
Yeah, there's a book called Blue Ocean Strategy that came out, I don't know, 8 or 10 years ago.
10 years ago.
Yeah, from Harvard, I think, actually. And they talk about different businesses and how they succeed and how they fail. And it's very similar, where they talk about differentiators, where you have different axes and different, I don't know, different forms that you evaluate your business on. And you make a chart for every business. Like if you're making hamburgers, like you would look at McDonald's and it would say price is low, taste is medium, environmental impact high, convenience high. And then you think about your burger business and you would say, okay, well, you don't want your lines to be the same lines. If they overlap, then you're competing directly.
You don't have to compete directly.
And in fact, you can't compete directly now. And so you want your graph to look really different, but in addition, you want whole new scores. You want to be rated in a whole new way that you can't even look at the old business. Like, so for McDonald's, I don't know, I'm making this up. There's, I was gonna say entertainment, but they actually do have entertainment for kids now. Fashion, I don't know. So you could make like a burger joint that incorporates fashion. So I don't know how, hamburger outfits or something. It's a terrible, do not make that. But if you can rate your own product or service in a way that you cannot be compared to other ones. There is no comparison. You may have found your own blue ocean, which is free of, like a red ocean is a bloody red ocean. So you have a blue ocean, it's beautiful, you have many dollars of people. Yeah.